Good morning, everybody. Today we will continue with mathematical approaches to turbulent flows. If you recall what we did in the last class, we derived and established a paradigm where the governing equations are time averaged, velocity based continuity equation given by equation 8, and again the three momentum equations based on time average velocities in three orthogonal directions and time averaged pressure. But in this equation we get additional term which are basically, and these are terms actually, we'll get with each momentum equation 3 terms from here. So 3 into 3, 9 terms, and these are basically called together, they are called Reynolds stress tensor. And the fluctuating components like u I prime, u j prime over bar, that is the source of creation of such terms. As I have already mentioned, for example, with x momentum equation, it will be u1 prime square bar, u1 prime u2 prime over bar, u1 prime into u3 prime over bar. So three quantities, or you can say that if you define them by UVW, then u prime square bar, u prime v prime over bar, u prime w prime over bar. So like that you get with y momentum equation, with z momentum equation, this contribution of the Reynolds stress. Now that means if you look into it, there are 6 additional unknowns in this tensor quantity. Whereas the velocities in 3 directions, time average velocity and time average pressure, are basically to be solved from 4 equations. So this adds 6 unknowns in this equation. Now let us see how we can handle the Reynolds stress. See, it is probably not incongruous if we mention the creation of this Reynolds stress tensor mathematically, how we can reproduce that. See, these are, again go back, 8 and 9, these are time averaged equation. If we subtract time averaged momentum equation from instantaneous momentum equation. Now instantaneous equation, any velocity quantity, for example uppercase ui, is given by ui bar plus ui prime. or uppercase uj instantaneous is uj uppercase over bar mean quantity plus uj prime is fluctuating component. So if we subtract the instantaneous the time mean quantity from our time mean momentum equations from the momentum equations which are based on instantaneous velocities, we will get this equation in fluctuating component, which is del del t of uj prime plus ui bar into del xi of uj prime plus u prime del xi of uj bar plus del xi of ui prime uj prime minus del xi of ui prime into uj prime over bar. Right hand side del p of del p del xj plus nu del 2 del xi into uj prime. So if we multiply this equation 10 with ui prime and just store it, and then we derive a similar equation for ui prime. This is equation for uj prime, and we are multiplying it with ui prime. Then we develop a equation in ui prime and multiply that equation with uj prime, and then that means we get equations in ui prime uj prime actually after multiplication. Then we add them and perform the time averaging. If we do that, we will get these terms. Now in equation 10 there is one small typographical mistake. Please read this term, pressure term, as del xj of p prime, because instantaneous equation p is p bar plus p prime and average equation p is p bar. So after subtracting, this will be del xj of p prime. Somehow this has been a typographical mistake. So what I was referring to, that after performing these operations as I have explained, we get basically governing equation for Reynolds stresses. I hope it is clear now. It is equation for uj prime. We multiply this with ui prime. Similar way we derive an equation for ui prime and multiply that equation with uj prime, add these two equations and do the time averaging. So then basically we will get this complete equation 11. You can see this is del t of ui prime uj prime over bar Reynolds stress. This is convective term of Reynolds stress, convection of Reynolds stress, u k bar into del xk of ui prime uj prime over bar. This is basically production term. This is third order diffusive term. This term is called pressure strain term. This is diffusion term, and this is viscous diffusion term. This is diffusion and this dissipation, sorry. This is dissipation term. Extremely sorry, let me repeat again. Right hand side, this is production term, this is third order diffusive term, this is these two are together pressure strain term, this is dissipation term, and this is viscous diffusion term. This is equation 11. Now this equation 11 is Reynolds stress transport equation. This equation can also be modeled directly. This equation can also be modeled. It is called Reynolds stress model. In this model, Reynolds stress components are determined by solving the differential transport equation for each component of Reynolds stresses, and this has been developed, technique has been developed and very nicely explained in these three papers. One is Launder et al., probably it is Launder, Gries and Rodi in 1975. This is a Journal of Fluid Mechanics paper. Then Gibson and Launder 1989. However, Reynolds stress transport equation contains several unknown terms that need to be modeled in order to close the equations. So, while discussing about mathematical approaches, we have discussed about large eddy simulation, LES. We have discussed about direct numerical simulation, DNS, and we have also mentioned about Reynolds stress model. But all these techniques that we have mentioned so far, they are very involved. They need very large computational power, and the detailed calculation procedure are to be discussed and taken up. But we are heading towards slightly less involved and easier approach for the time being. Now, it is possible to obtain the transport equation for turbulent kinetic energy from equation for the Reynolds stress transport by doing bringing about a slight change. What is that? If we substitute in governing equation for Reynolds stress transport I equal to J, one obtains the equation for turbulent kinetic energy. K is basically half ui prime over bar. This is kinetic energy, half u square. So fluctuating component of velocity for turbulent kinetic energy. So ui prime into ui prime over bar. We can call it 0.5 q square. Now, if we do that, the major changes we get in the pressure strain correlation. It becomes 2 by minus 2 by rho del xi of ui prime into p prime over bar, and also the dissipation term, which is in the previous equation we have seen. This is the dissipation term. Here, substituting I equal to j, we get minus twice nu into del x k of ui prime multiplied by del x k of ui prime over bar. This is basically dissipation of turbulent kinetic energy. So, from Reynolds stress transport equation, we can derive governing equation for turbulent kinetic energy. We can call this quantity as K, u I prime into u prime I prime over bar by 2. So that is, we can write del T of K plus uk bar average velocity into del K del xk equal to the terms which we get on the right hand side are from Reynolds stress transport equation. If we analyze, we will be able to say this term is production term, and these two terms are turbulent transport term. Again, P prime will come here. It is from here. Sorry for this small mistake. So equation 12, from here it comes. And this is dissipation because we are taking K, which is u I prime into u I prime over bar by 2. So this 2 is absorbed. So nu, this quantity which is dissipation, plus nu, this is diffusion of turbulent kinetic energy. Equation 14. Now we will see how we can utilize this K to close the time averaged governing equations. We will take a recourse to one or two earlier slides. If you recall that we have basically rho ui prime uj prime over bar is a tensor quantity. If I equal to 1, j equal to 1, 2, 3, I equal to 2, j equal to 1, 2, 3, I equal to 3, j equal to 1, 2, 3, we get this tensor. This tensor is symmetric and having 6 unknown because it is symmetric. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 unknowns. And these are analogous to basically the shear stress which arises out of molecular viscosity. So we can introduce, we discussed it in the last class, that this rho ui prime uj prime over bar, we can write mu t into shear stress del xi of uj mean and del xj of ui mean plus these terms which are comprising of kinetic energy and Kronecker delta. And this mu t is the eddy viscosity. This is culmination of interaction between the fluctuating components. And then I will also use this slide which I used in the last class. The same thing we have explained, u I prime uj prime over bar. This is equal to nu t into the shear stress expression, nu t into the shear rate expression into the nu t, which is basically shear, minus 2/3 k del ij Kronecker delta. And purpose of adding this has been explained, so that when we add normal stresses, we get a non-zero value, which is nothing but turbulent 2 times turbulent kinetic energy. Adding the normal stresses, u I prime square bar plus u1 prime square bar plus u2 prime square bar plus u3 prime square bar should give me 2 times k, 2 times turbulent kinetic energy. So this relationship we will try to make use of. So we will accept this minus ui prime into uj prime over bar is nu t into the shear rate terms, which is del xj into u I min del xi into uj min minus 2/3 k delta ij, and nu t is unknown. If nu t is known, then we can really substitute this relationship in the Reynolds stress relationship of time average momentum equations. But nu t is not known, and it was postulated that nu t is a function of k to the power half into L. Many people tried to work on it, Boussinesq, then Kolmogorov, and it was suggested that this molecular viscosity gives some guidance to determine turbulent viscosity. How? Molecular viscosity of the gases are known that it's a function of molecular mean free path and the random velocity, which is root mean square velocity. So here it is thought, or Kolmogorov finally suggested, that turbulent viscosity is a function of turbulent velocity scale, which is given by k to the power half, that is, substituting the RMS velocity in the molecular theory of gases, and then L, turbulent length scale, substituting basically the mean free path of collision that is responsible for turbulent, responsible for the molecular viscosity. And we are substituting that mean free path when we are determining turbulent kinetic energy by turbulent length scale. And Kolmogorov did another additional very important contribution, that this length scale is linked to dissipation rate. So length scale varies as k to the power 3 by 2 by epsilon. So epsilon varies as k to the power 3 by 2 by L. So turbulent length scale varies as k to the power 3 by 2 divided by epsilon. So turbulent viscosity is a function of k to the power half, which is representative velocity scale, and L, which is representative length scale given by k to the power 3 by 2 divided by epsilon. That means nu t varies as k to the power half into k to the power 3 by 2 divided by epsilon, or nu t varies as k square by epsilon. And then this can be, proportionality relationship can be converted into equality relationship if we introduce a proportionality constant which is for such models given by C mu. And it was, postulated, then that was supported by accompanying experiments, and it was found that C mu equal to 0.09. So nu t equal to C mu k square by epsilon, where C mu is given by 0.09. Together with that, another great contribution or simplification was done. If I am not wrong, Kolmogorov, Rota, and finally the contribution came from Professor Brian Launder and Professor Davis Spalding, that K was a model equation for K was set up, where this is the temporal variation of K, this is the convection of K, this is basically transport of K, and this is primarily diffusion transport, where molecular viscosity and turbulent viscosity both are there, but we'll see later this molecular velocity is much smaller than turbulent viscosity, so this can be neglected too. But right now we are retaining it, and this term is equivalent to production term minus dissipation. So compare between the original equation and the model equation. This is the original equation, just we have derived from Reynolds stress transport equation. So left hand side exactly same. On the right hand side, this was our production term, and here this production term is given by this term. This was our dissipation term. Dissipation term is coming here. And remaining terms, turbulent transport plus diffusion term due to molecular viscosity, they are clubbed together here. So this is basically fitting in a model of turbulent kinetic energy transport through comparison with or comparing with the original turbulent kinetic energy transport equation, where production term is modeled by this term, dissipation term is retained, viscous diffusion and turbulent transport are clubbed together as this term. So this K equation is model kinetic energy equation, and you can see there is a model constant, and we will discuss about determination of this model constants slightly later. Now comes epsilon equation. You can see this is the full form of epsilon equation, which is really horrendous in terms of its complexity. You can see again temporal derivative of epsilon, dissipation of turbulent kinetic energy, convection of epsilon, convection of dissipation of turbulent kinetic energy. And right hand side we have production by mean velocity gradient, turbulent production of dissipation, gradient production of dissipation, mixed production of dissipation. This is another 3 production of dissipation. Turbulent diffusion of dissipation, these 2 terms. Turbulent destruction of dissipation, this term. And viscous diffusion of dissipation. Now, if you look into complexity of this equation, seemingly it is impossible to touch it with respect to the involvement, the fluctuating components and main components in a very complex manner. So, equation for epsilon, we have written 10 additional terms, among them production of dissipation, destruction of dissipation, molecular diffusion of dissipation, turbulent transport of dissipation. Seemingly, handling this term is impossible, as I said, but this group of scientists, as I am mentioning, this started with Kolmogorov in Soviet Union. Some work was done by Professor Rota in Germany, and huge amount of work was done by Professor Spalding, Professor Launder, Professor Rodi in Imperial College. And then this equation was developed. This is again a model equation. This is temporal plus convective transport of epsilon. Here, production, all the production terms have been modeled in a very novel way. This pk, production of turbulent kinetic energy, that has been taken. We have used this in turbulent kinetic energy production. It has been multiplied by epsilon, divided by k, and multiplied by a model constant to describe production of all the productions, production, this, if you look into it, all these ways, mixed production, gradient production, turbulent production of dissipation, and production by means of mean velocity gradient. It is, I would say, some kind of genius of them that to get even an idea that these production terms can be modeled this way. So this is kinetic energy production term, multiply it with epsilon, divide it by kinetic energy, and multiply with model constant. This is production of dissipation. And then this is very simple. This is diffusion of dissipation. You can see and coefficient of viscosity, turbulent viscosity comes, and this is destruction of dissipation. So finally, this was the complete modeled K equation and epsilon equation. This is looking even more complex because I have added this term G, which I have not introduced, this term C3 epsilon, and this term RF in this equation. I had a purpose of introducing this because if the flow field is thermal buoyancy dominated, thermal buoyancy is, very, very glaring component, contributory component, and if such flow fields are to be modeled, then these terms are to be added. I'm giving you a little background. In 80s and 90s, in entire Europe, plenty of programs were taken up by different governments to clean the environment, and major focus was the pollutions created by the chimney effluents, the hot gas thrown out by the chimney, and also the hot industrial discharge into rivers and estuaries. Fishes were being destructed, and a lot of environmental imbalance started surfacing. So in order to remediate that, massive programs were taken. One program was to estimate such damages through modeling. And what I know from my personal acquaintance with contemporary scientists, that Professor Wolfgang Rodi in University of Karlsruhe, he was handling a massive project, and as I said, Professor Wolfgang Rodi was also earlier a member of Professor Spalding's research group, and they modeled basically, and all these flows are reasonably high speed flow, quite high speed flows. So modeling such chimney flows or discharge in rivers or estuaries, these were done by Professor Rodi's group, and so all these flows, thermal buoyancy, because whether it is just discharge in the river or discharge in the open ambience, basically these are hot gases or hot liquids, and thermal buoyancy effect was quite significant. So this phi is temperature, this is volume coefficient of expansion beta, and this is G, generation term due to thermal buoyancy. And here also you can see another model constant C3 epsilon into RF. RF is the Richardson number, C3e is 0.8, and this is G. G is also sitting here. Now if you exclude these seemingly unknown things, why seemingly? These were unknown to us so far. Otherwise, you can consider this is the model we have discussed, where we have one constant sigma k. Sigma k is given by 1. And then the epsilon equation, if you exclude G, if you exclude this bracketed term, which are due to thermal buoyancy effect, then basically temporal term, convective term, this is, as I have already discussed, diffusion of dissipation. This is production of dissipation. So G is not there, these terms are not there. We discussed it earlier, P into epsilon by K into C1 epsilon, which is a model constant. It is given by 1.44. Please ignore this minus sign. This is not minus, this is equal to. Again, this is a small typo. So C1 epsilon is equal to 1.44. I am repeating, C1 epsilon is equal to 1.44. And C2 epsilon is equal to 1.92. Ct epsilon into epsilon square by K. This is destruction of dissipation term. And this model was, if you exclude the buoyancy part, original model was developed by Professor Launder and Professor Spalding. A very famous paper published in 1974. But before that, a book also came out from the same authors, Launder and Spalding, in 1972. So, in absence of buoyancy, then G will be 0, C 3 epsilon will be 0, and then probably you will be, all of you will readily recognize, because this we have discussed. I just added the effect of thermal buoyancy. I could have avoided that, but just to emphasize its importance, even in environmental flows, I showed that slide. So basically this we have adequately discussed: temporal term, convective term, turbulent kinetic energy production term, dissipation of kinetic energy. This is transport of kinetic energy through transport of kinetic energy through turbulent diffusion. The diffusion coefficient is nu T, and which is again turbulent viscosity, eddy viscosity. So we are determining K, but because K value will be needed for determining nu T, but we are using nu T also in this expression. You can say that the calculations are iterative. Once we'll reach a situation when K and nu T will not change anymore. K and nu T will not change anymore. Similarly, del epsilon del T plus convective term equal to, as I said, this is production of dissipation, this is destruction of dissipation, and this is basically diffusion of dissipation. And C mu is the model constant which is needed for determining nu T, because nu T is C mu K square by epsilon. So there C mu is needed. But here in these two equations, the model constants are C1 epsilon equal to 1.44. I am repeating again. C1 epsilon equal to 1.44. C2 epsilon is 1.92. Sigma K is 1 and sigma epsilon is 1.3. And these model constants were determined through series of experiments for shear flow, experiments for separated flow. Like that, series of experimental paradigms were created and the results were matched. Although I cannot tell you typically name of all experimentalists involved in it. As I said, Professor Launder, Professor Spalding, he was under his leadership, Professor Rodi. These people were involved in the setting up theoretical model. Similarly, counterpart experiments, what I know through my personal interaction or whatever you say, personal uh, link to Professor Franz Durst. Franz Durst is again a big name, a very well-known experimentalist in Germany. He was in University of Erlangen. He has retired now. He was one of the team members. So from him, what I gather that Professor J.H. Whitelaw, Professor Adrian Melling, Professor Durst, and few others, they participated in such, experiments for, and I'm missing probably, I beg your pardon, I may be excused by other listeners too. There are many other experimentalists. I also understand some experiments were done in Stanford University. So, in nutshell, what I should say that these were extensively validated with experimental data, and then this model constants evolved. Now, Wilcox and Speziale, they also much later you can see, but very significant, 1988, subsequently 1990, they developed again yet another version of two equation model. I would again mention, since the turbulence is modeled by modeled K equation and modeled epsilon equation, this paradigm is called two equations model of turbulence. So in 1988 and 1990, Professor Wilcox and Professor Speziale, they developed yet another two equation model, and this time the turbulent viscosity is given by rho k by omega. This omega is not vorticity. This omega is different. This omega is dissipation rate per unit turbulent kinetic energy. So transport equations for turbulent kinetic energy, K, this is slightly different than K equation of Launder and Spalding, and equation for dissipation rate per unit turbulent kinetic energy, that is equation for omega. This is governing equation for omega. So omega is not vorticity, let me repeat again, it is dissipation rate per unit turbulence kinetic energy. So epsilon by K, and mu T is given by rho into K by omega, or nu T will be K by omega. And this is the governing equation for omega. And here you can see, here also like Spalding-Launders equation, sigma k they have used, and they have used beta star, they have used beta, they have used alpha, and they have used sigma omega. So alpha is 5/9, beta is 3/40, beta star is 9/100, sigma k is 2, sigma omega is 2. So this was developed by them. They have used it successfully, but more successfully, or more I should say well-known usage was done by Florian Mentor. Mentor developed a model which is called SST model of turbulence, shear stress transport model, where very close to the wall he used k omega, and away from the wall this model was switched from k omega to k epsilon. That is called SST model. It is very popular, and quite a few difficult flows it has performed very nicely. So let us come back to our discussion that in the time averaged continuity equation, time averaged momentum equation, now in this momentum equation, nu we can use the molecular viscosity value, and nu t will be created by C mu into k square by epsilon, and k and epsilon are again field equations like momentum equations. So every time step from the previously known values of u everywhere, these k and epsilon equations have to be solved. Either these two, or this is k omega. Better to show k epsilon. This is original. So k and omega epsilon are to be solved. Then that k and omega are to be used for creating nu t. That means C mu into k square by epsilon. Then we solve the time mean momentum equations. That means u I bar, u j bar, u k bar in three orthogonal directions satisfy the continuity equation. And like the computational strategies we have outlined so far in all our previous lectures for computing momentum equation, continuity equation, they remain valid. Only the velocity components are time mean velocity components, and this coefficient of viscosity is basically molecular viscosity plus turbulent viscosity. A turbulent viscosity will be calculated by again convection diffusion equation of k and epsilon. And having done that, that value will be plugged in, and the next time level values of velocities will be calculated. So k and epsilon calculation will be trailing by one count. So solution of equation 8 and 9, these are called solution of Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equations, because these are solution of Reynolds average equations. So this is called Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equations. Reynolds averaged Navier-Stokes equation RANS. Usually the turbulent viscosity is many times larger than the molecular viscosity. more than 50 times, and it can be even more depending on the fluctuations in the flow. So many a times this nu, which is molecular viscosity, can be neglected and is a function of Reynolds number of the flow. So obviously fluctuating components u I prime, u j prime, u k prime are function of Reynolds number, and u I prime, u j prime, u k prime, they contribute to kinetic energy, they contribute to its dissipation rate. So obviously nu t is a function of Reynolds number. If the average velocity varies in time, now most of this RANS calculation, we think that average velocity is a stationary random. It is not time varying, it is dropped. So that is why, usual RANS calculation may not include this. Time marching, what I am discussing, is basically pseudo time marching. That means we will be progressing, evolving as if we are evolving in time direction, but we will try to reach steady flow condition. So, what I would like to mention here, also a paradigm exists where time mean value is also a function of time. This may be, low frequency oscillations, the time mean value. Time period is very large, much larger than the turbulent flow time period. Fluctuating components time period is very small, frequency is very high, several kilohertz. But the mean flow, it may be also time varying, but time period is large, so that frequency is less, maybe a few hertz, but it can also happen. So basically we can say that if the average velocity varies with time, it is called unsteady Reynolds averaged Navier-Stokes equations, or URANS. So RANS and URANS cover this paradigm which we discussed today. I will show you few very nice results. These are the flow fields behind two delta winglet pairs sitting in a channel, and each delta winglet pair will create a longitudinal vortex. So a pair of longitudinal vortices will be seen in the channel. So if we cut the flow at a cross section, we'll be able to see this counter rotating vortices. So this was basically experiment of Professor Pauli and Professor John Eaton in Stanford University, very well known experiment, and these are basically computation of basically repeating the results computationally. This is yet another complex flow. You can see, this is called spiral casing of a hydraulic turbine. It's a very important component, because if it is a reaction turbine, especially Francis turbine, then kinetic energy will rotate the blades, will rotate the turbine blades, and also pressure energy will rotate the blades because of pressure difference. So, and these are many a times called 50% reaction turbine. That means the work done is obtained 50% due to exchange of kinetic energy from the flowing stream to the blades, and 50% is obtained through the pressure expansion. So retaining pressure is very important, and that is done by spiral casing. And this was a BHEL sponsored project. BHEL Bhopal sponsored this project to us. It was very successfully delivered, and calculation of flow field inside the spiral casing. You can see at different cross sections the flow fields and also pressure fields have been plotted. This is yet another very challenging problem. Basically, what you can see is accelerator driven subcritical system. Modeling of that, it is basically lead bismuth eutectic is the circulating fluid, and it is being bombarded on a window by the proton beam, and neutrons are generated here. Of course, neutronics is not our domain of activity. What we did is because of repeated bombardment of proton beams, this window gets damaged. Huge amount of heat deposition takes place, and this circulating lead bismuth eutectic, the metal, that basically removes the heat from this window surface. So that heat removal calculation was done by, again, yet another group, Professor Arul Prakash and Professor B.V. Ratish Kumar. They were involved together with me in this calculation. Now, I have not mentioned one thing. I have said that K and epsilon, those are calculated in the flow field. But all of you know, in a turbulent flow, very close to the wall, these fluctuating components die. There is no turbulence. And the fluid layer close to the wall is called viscous sublayer. Across the turbulent boundary layer, the flow has to undergo a transition from fully turbulent to completely laminar within the thin viscosity dominated sublayer adjacent to the solid surface. This phenomenon is termed as low Reynolds number turbulence, and the transition from high to low Reynolds number regions is determined by local Reynolds number. This local Reynolds number, RT, turbulent Reynolds number, local turbulence Reynolds number, determined by local turbulence Reynolds number, RT, given by rho K square by mu into epsilon. So, K is the turbulence kinetic energy and epsilon is the dissipation. So, significant physical effect of the presence of wall is the viscous diffusion term, which are viscous diffusion terms which are usually negligible compared to other terms in regions away from the wall, become one of the largest terms to be balanced by the other terms. So this is also one issue close to the wall. So I will not go much detail here. What I will say that from the wall, if we progress in the normal direction, then up to a distance y plus equal to 12, we can call viscous sublayer. What is y plus? Y plus is a new scale. Y plus is given by y u tau by nu. What is u tau? U tau is friction velocity, and it is defined by root over tau w by rho. Root over shear stress by rho will give u tau. U tau is friction velocity. So y into u tau by nu, it is becoming non-dimensional. Y is in meter, u tau meter per second, meter square per second, nu meter square per second. So this is a non-dimensional scale y plus. And this y plus is much smaller than our usual scale we use in the channel height. Usually 1500 1600 y plus units may be found if we want to measure our channel height in usual laboratory experiments. And so you can imagine that y plus 12 is how small. So up to y plus, we do not apply any boundary condition at the wall because it is very difficult to apply boundary condition at the wall. Velocity profile gets in the turbulent zone log law profile, and log law profile, log law is not valid at y equal to 0. So this part is skipped and the boundary conditions are applied at y plus equal to 12 or maybe slightly beyond 12. And so the variation of velocity within the viscous sublayer is bridged by this concept, as if it is coming continuously. In the y plus scale, it as if it is varying linearly from 0 to the non-zero value at y plus equal to 12, and y plus equal to 12, it matches the value that is there because of a logarithmic velocity profile. And again, this is iterative calculation because shear stress we calculate from the guess value, then from that shear stress root over tau by rho we get friction velocity u tau, from that we get y plus. So this calculation is again done through iterations. Now wall function approach, that is why it is called wall function approach, based on the equilibrium consideration. Production of k is equal to dissipation of k. K and epsilon or k and omega at the near wall node, nearest node. So based on the computational scheme, this should be located at y plus equal to 12, or maybe the way you generate grid, first grid point may be at y plus equal to 16, 18, 20. It's okay. Are prescribed in the following way. Kp the kinetic energy at that point. From there onwards, kinetic energy calculation is taken up by kinetic energy equation. And this Kp is used as boundary condition. U tau square divided by C mu to the power half. U tau friction velocity square by C mu to the power half. Epsilon P, again epsilon equation is used in the whole field, but it doesn't come to the wall. It satisfies boundary condition is implemented through the near wall point boundary condition. Epsilon P is U tau cube divided by kappa yp. This kappa is von Karman constant. And omega p is k to the power half divided by C mu to the power 1/4 kappa into yp, where C mu is a closure coefficient. 0.09, we have discussed it earlier. Friction velocity U tau equal to root over tau w by rho is not known a priori, and it is an outcome of the iterative type of solution algorithm. And kappa is von Karman constant. Its value is 0.4, 0.39, 0.4, around that. So concluding remarks: for high Reynolds number turbulence, Reynolds stress terms in the mean flow equation dominate over the genuine viscous terms. That is, nu t is much greater than nu, except for thin viscous layers near the walls. Near the wall, of course, as I said, viscous sublayer, their viscosity plays a role, and that is why there is no fluctuating component there. That is why I'm saying fluctuating components are not there, and viscosity, molecular viscosity, effect of that prevails. But outside viscous sublayer, the turbulent viscosity is a function of space, of course, but it is the way K varies, epsilon varies, this will also vary, but it's much bigger than nu molecular. The standard values of model constants were determined long before. I mentioned about it, about the experiments. Better results, these were done for some class of experiments and values were obtained. Better results can usually be obtained by tuning the parameters to particular flows. At the least, this can be tuned with the class of flows, so they can be revisited for the further improvement. DNS calculations are now limited to relatively low Reynolds numbers, such as transitional flows in ducts, flow over bluff body, flow over a bluff body, or the passage of the heat exchangers at moderate Reynolds number. And why Reynolds number is kept moderate? Because the grid requirement, n is the grid in one direction, so n cube is the grid requirement. It is proportional to Reynolds number to the power 9/4. And obviously, for computing such flows where you need 10 to the power 12, 10 to the power 14 type of grids in a domain, ordinary computers or even very good mainframe computers may be inadequate. You really need high performance computing machine, which are parallel machines called supercomputers. Numerical experiments based on LES and attempts to address the problems of backscatter. See, LES I did not discuss in detail. One of the problems in LES is backscatter, for which you can get basically Smagorinsky constant negative in some places, which is, undesirable. The locally dynamic LES and shear improved Smagorinsky models are significant landmarks. So these have already developed locally dynamic LES and shear improved Smagorinsky model. It is called SISM. These are significant advancement in LES, and LES is coming up very fast. Maybe in another 5 years, it can be a usual tool to handle turbulence. It will be so things will improve a lot. But till DNS and LES, these two methods are elevated to that level, and we have lot more powerful computers. This RANs and URANs will remain very reliable tool for, as I mentioned it earlier, engineering flows. Like, if somebody wants to derive statistics related to turbulence physics, then without DNS or LES, it is difficult. But, if we want to calculate basically pressure drop, heat transfer, mass transfer, all such, engineering parameters, then RANs or URANs are quite good. Give both the methods give satisfactory results. Thank you very much for your interest. I hope it will enhance a lot more after this lecture. Thank you very much again.